Herzlich willkommen zurück auf Victory Monday on a Tuesday. I'm your host, Richard Carmen. Joining me as always, co-host Jack Mangan. Jack, how are we doing on this Victory Tuesday?
We're doing quite well because we are at the sharp end of the stick. Finally, it's been a while since we've been able to say that. But Schalke sitting in second place currently after yet another victory. I'm happy about the volume of victory Mondays or Tuesdays that we've been able to include so far here at the top of the season. But lots to get into.
Yeah, lots to get into. Been we haven't seen this style of play in quite a while. Probably since the last time we finished in second place, a long time ago. Well, we'll get to that a little bit later, possibly. But yeah, a lot to get into. Another victory. Another not so pretty game, but it doesn't matter. It's defense wins championships apparently, or the defense wins games at least. So we got a lot to get into in the game against Dresden. So the rundown for tonight, we're going to obviously talk about the recap of the game, review how that went, talk about the transfer market. It closed officially, and who do we got? Who do we not have? And then look at the DFB Pokal. There's a draw coming up, or already came out. We already know who our next opponents are. And we are on international break, so there's no game coming up this weekend. It's the international break. Next game is against Holstein Kiel here in a couple weeks, time. So, but let's get into the game, Jack. Looking into the lineups here. Boom. I am not gonna tell everybody that I knew all these people to worry about on Dresden because I didn't. I can't say there's one person on that lineup that I was like, oh yeah, I got to worry about him. How about you?
I concur, sir.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's analysis.
yeah. That's pretty much it. But we can't talk about Schalke's lineup. Obviously, in goal is Loris Karius. In defense, nothing changed really. Becker, Katic, and Kurachai. Midfield, there was a change. This formation doesn't really see it right here, but it was Porat on the right, Becker, Vitali Becker on the left, Schallenberg, now with El Fauzi, both Bachmann, and then El Fauzi got kind of pushed up into alongside Keenan Karaman, all behind Emil Hoyland. Couple changes, couple wrinkles in this lineup. Thoughts on the starting 11?
Yeah, it was definitely interesting. I mean, we haven't seen Bachmann getting into the starting 11, I don't think, at all this season so far. And Porath getting thrown right in there, I'm not necessarily surprised by, given the way that Gantenbein's obviously been playing it, and the bright cameo that Porath had in the last game, obviously contributing to the goal that was scored as well. And certainly tried to replicate that on a couple occasions with some volley type strikes from outside the box in this game again. So interesting wrinkles. I mean, I think I think Fauzi was it was fluid. I don't think he was always higher than Bachmann. I think he was back there, but I understand what you're saying. And so yeah, and to have another player like Bachmann, who we sort of consider to be more of like a kind of a defensive midfield player, but there's been plenty of times last season where he was more advanced or was actually pretty good in combination around the box with quick passing and whatnot, and has a shot on him. So yeah, definitely kind of like one of those kind of odd man out guys, but a gadget player that can slide into a couple different roles. So yeah, interesting to see him get a look from the beginning. And of course, Poland up top. A lot of drama with Scylla and the transfer situation. So also likewise, not surprised to see somebody else get the nod in the starting 11, given the distraction that was going on this past weekend with that situation.
I'm glad you brought that up because obviously Muslic did not start the game because there was rumors that he potentially would be making a move, and so they didn't want to risk injury prior to that move. And so it was going to be either Emil Hoyland or Brian Laspa to start. Emil Hoyland did get the start in this one. Kind of surprised Antuiaje didn't get the start in this one. He's been run to the ground really. He's been played a lot of minutes, played a lot in that game in the Pokal where we went into extra time. And so seeing Bachmann in there is not a big deal. I think if you look at it from Muslic's perspective, the type of team that they were going to go up against in Dresden, they knew that they were tough at home, one of the best home crowds, in the Zweite Liga outside of Schalke, right? But they pressed a lot. Took a lot of shots on goal, had a good defense. It was going to be physical, and so in that sense, you can understand why they probably bring in Bachmann, a little bit more physical guy than Antuiaje. But other than that, really, not too surprising of a lineup. First half, it was interesting statistics-wise. It looked like Schalke was getting beat or something. If you look at the possession alone, it was like 62-38. That optics-wise, at least for me, didn't feel like that. I feel like it was all Schalke in the first half. You look at Schalke was obviously playing a early on, I would say first 20, 30 minutes, definitely had majority possession, creating or holding possession. I don't know if creating chances is a right term, but they like to play on the counterattack and try to get some shots off that way. Had lots of shots, not necessarily on target, but to me, it seemed almost like one-way traffic for Schalke. It seemed very comfortable. 2 shots on target for Dresden. One really did threaten Karius, and he made a great point-blank save. But other than that, it was all Schalke, I think, in the first half for me. What were your thoughts on the first half?
No, I understand why you're saying that for sure. I mean, I think the possession was certainly lopsided, but this was definitely a case where the team with the possessional advantage was not doing much with it in terms of attacking thrust. It wasn't really until the final 10 minutes, maybe 15 of the first half, where they really started to get anything kind of going. And a lot of that was kind of stuff over the top and behind or wide balls out that were played quickly back towards the middle, which was kind of a theme, I think, for the rest of the match, too, in terms of where a lot of their danger was getting created from. But yeah, I agree. Despite, the dip in possession, I think we had a significant shot advantage. Although, likewise, not a ton of super great opportunities for us either, just kind of volume more than, real quality chances.
2 big things stuck out in the first half for me. First, let's look at the bad. Emil Højlund, very quiet. Cororo just mentioned we didn't see much of Højlund in the first half. He was non-existent in the first half. I know it's probably difficult for us to get in the final third. As a team, as a whole, we weren't very good in the final third. I think that other 2/3 of the pitch were fine, but the final third we're not there. And Højlund was non-existent in the first half, to me at least, and I can see why he came off at halftime. They made a couple switches there. Thoughts on Emil Højlund's performance, the 45 minutes that we got to see him?
Yeah, okay, it wasn't good, but the one thing I would say in his defense is if you look at Music's performances so far this season, they haven't been too dissimilar. There's been long stretches where he's been very quiet or seemingly sort of not involved or not as connected with what's going on. I think the way Muslic has us playing at the moment, for whatever reason, the service is not consistently getting up there. And I feel like those strikers are kind of having to fend for themselves and pick and find moments where they can get involved rather than actually being the focal point of the attack. I think there's a lot more interplay, obviously, between the Karaman Bachmann positions, those sort of dual center tens, if you want to call them that. And then also, of course, the wide players like Becker and Porath who are overlapping and getting into those advancing areas. So, yeah, not good from him, but I think at least a portion of that is more indicative of system struggles we've had at that position in the first 3-4 games anyway.
Yeah, and I think another person had mentioned, and I don't remember who it was, maybe someone on Reddit, but this style of play and this formation with Keenan Karaman doesn't seem to jive. Also, it seems like it's not the same as in the past couple of years where he's had more freedom to do things. It's more rigid, I think, this way with Muslic because obviously he's defense first. He's still good enough to create his own chances. We'll talk about later, but at least to me, it seems like he's a little bit more stifled. I mean, obviously, it requires more about the team play and possession and doing things the right way and not getting cut out of possession. You got the same sense with him?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, also you have to keep in mind he didn't play the first match. He's been kind of getting integrated a little bit more slowly, so I think that's part of it too. But yeah, I agree. I think he has to find his feet in the system a little bit more, and I think it certainly is a little bit more rigid position, which may not be a bad thing. You have teams like Greuther Fürth and Magdeburg right now that are sort of
5-4 game. Wow.
That are sort of following the Schalke script from last season, which is if you look at the goals for, you're like, hey, that's pretty decent, and then you see the goals against, and you're like, there's no way you can win games that way. I mean, Greuther Fürth right now has twice as many goals scored as we do, and they're in 10th place.
Yeah, wow.
You know what I mean? We found that out the last couple of seasons that defense is so important in terms of giving yourself a fighting chance. So hey, you can't really argue with the results so far. I have serious concerns about the way we're looking offensively, but hey, as long as you're keeping clean sheets or keeping it to those 1-goal margins, you're going to be in a lot of games, and that's what we're seeing.
Yeah. Look after everyone in the chat. I see you, Cororo, Joseph, and others. Let us know where you're watching along from. Yeah, I'm totally with that for sure, with that sentiment. And with that sentiment, the good for the first half, this is the 5th game in a row, 0 goals allowed in the first half. I mean, this has been a long time since we could say something like that. It's truly showing that Muslic is defense first before anything else, stabilize, and it's proof of the pudding right there.
I mean, I'm sure you feel the same way. I'm so tired of us going behind early in matches.
Yeah.
And then just every game, it feels like by the 20th minute, we already have a mountain to climb. Yeah. And that was just the script over and over and over again. And oftentimes it got worse more than better, given how many goals we ended up conceding in a lot of matches. So, yeah, I'm with you 100% there.
And it's I'll bring it up later in the game, I guess, or later after the game. But made a couple substitutions at halftime. Second half, really much of the same. You get to see a little bit more opened up by Dresden, create a little bit more opportunities, but still very much the same recipes we saw in the first half. Honestly, really, it looked like we were headed for a 0-0 draw, just because the way we were lined up, not much creativity was there. Alpha Uzi was trying, caught him on the times, and a couple other guys. Obviously, Brian Lasma came on as well, trying to inject some of that. We saw the change. One of the changes we saw is Kudachai out, Felipe Sanchez in. And I pegged that to more like just trying something different defensively. That is not that Kudachai is not bad passing was. We talked about how good he's actually at passing. Maybe Felipe Sanchez offers something a little bit different, a little bit a nuanced take at attacking this Dresden team. Maybe Muslic saw something there, and obviously Brian Lasman makes clear sense why he was put into the game. But it really took until 84th minute where Keenan Karaman doing his own thing and kind of taking on guys, getting to the box. Guy, what's his name? Maoko fouls him from behind, and it's a penalty. Took VAR to call it, but sure enough, penalty gets thrown, and he steps up and scores a goal, 1-0. Really out of nothing, I think.
Yeah, I don't mind that as long as I get the decision correctly, but I did think it was funny that one of the more like kind of pretty clear and uncontroversial penalties like required it to be overturned by VAR. We've seen some ones that are much sketchier where there's like an immediate decision, you know. Anyway, yeah, I mean, look, that's Karaman at his best, really, is, you know, slaloming through defenses in and around the box, and, you know, creating shot opportunities from nothing, really. And this time, you know, he comes down before he has an opportunity to do that. But yeah, we'll certainly take that. And he has a very good penalty record. I couldn't tell you what it is off the top of my head, but I don't recall him missing too many.
I want to say he scored the last 5 for sure. I think that's what they said. But yeah, I'm sure
both him and Marius Bolter, you know, before him in terms of kind of the key penalty taker roles, I think had very good conversion percentages. So that's been nice to see. Schalke's been good at that for a while. Even back to like the Tedesco days, we had very high conversion. I think Caligari was maybe taking a lot of those back then. I forget who was taking our pens back then, but yeah. Anyway, Karaman bears it as you would expect him to, and look, it feels a little bit cheap given kind of the way the whole game went. But look, we'll take it. And like I said, as long as we're earning these results through not conceding goals and putting in solid defensive performances, you know, we're gonna deserve most of those. You know what I mean? These are not fluky games where, you know, both teams are conceding 3 goals and there's a penalty or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, these are solid defensive performances so far. So we'll see what happens when we go up against better competition again, and how, you know, how well this defensive performance holds over the course of the season. But yeah, early on, all we need is, you know, a goal here, a goal there, and we can get the results.
Yeah, I apologize if my voice starts sounding different during this podcast, but I've been in my office for like the last hour, and all of a sudden my allergies are kicking in, and I'm like, oh, I can't see and talk. But you mentioned 2 things in that just there that I want to kind of hit on. First, our boy Marius Bolter, the Angry Tree. Life is doing him well so far under the Kwasniak and Cologne right now in Bundesliga. He's got a couple goals, several goals already, a couple assists, and obviously they're off to a flying start. And the other thing you mentioned, our former manager, Domenico Tedesco. Funny because this is similar style to what he played, where it was like offense was, you know, it was grinded out, getting lucky with some, you know, set pieces here and there, but it's all about defense and stability. And this is kind of what we're doing right now. We finished obviously second at the table back then in 2019 or whatever it was, and we're second place at the moment. So it seems like this is the recipe to, at least for us presently, to succeed. We're not, if you're looking for that beautiful, free-flowing football that we were hoping to get, it ain't it. I'm okay with this style right now, as long as we get wins and get results and hopefully get in a roll and improve throughout the season. We talked about exhaustively when we had Tedesco that, like, this is not sustainable. Eventually, things level out. We saw in the second season it did level out. What are your thoughts on the comparisons with Tedesco and just how things are going at the moment? Is this sustainable for the season long?
I'd have to look at how many non-open play goals we have so far, and I don't want to include like all like set piece goals and that, like, you know, corners and stuff, whatever. But like, yeah, the whole thing with that Tedesco season was just the volume of either free kick goals or corner kick goals or penalty goals was making our attack look much better than it fundamentally was, and it papered over a lot of squad issues that I think we had. I don't know if that's been the case so far this season, really. I'd have to kind of look back at it exactly, but something to keep an eye on for sure. I mean, I don't think we're scoring a lot of goals. I don't think our offense is like, I don't think the numbers are much better than our offense fundamentally is. I think it is what it is, and I think there's potentially room for improvement, if anything, as opposed to like, it looking like we're overinflating it. So I'm not as worried from that perspective, but I am worried, generally once again in terms of the how uninspiring the attack is. I mean, look, even if you look at what you have screen shared at the moment here, you're looking at the squad. I'm just looking at it, where's the attack coming from though? There aren't.
Yeah.
You have. I mean, like, look, we like Holy and Wicked, but he could potentially bring. This is like young, relatively unproven striker. You have Karaman, who, very good attacking player. Bachmann is not what you would generally consider an attacking, and that's it. And then everything else. I'm not saying like Becker and Porth can't get involved. Obviously, they're and in this kind of system, those players have to be involved in the attack to some extent. But there are no other players that you would look at on that picture and be like, that's where the goals are coming from, or that's where the danger is coming from. So it's not surprising that we're seeing that kind of play out in terms of the volume of chances and the creativity at the moment.
Yeah, 100%. And Karius has some things that are absolutely spot on. Like, we won with luck, but a win is a win. We're gonna have to take it. I'll take it all day right now. We're up to second place with 9 points, which is unreal. And then the second thing he mentioned is Karius saved us again, 3 points again, and he's glad that he renewed. And you kind of mentioned this last year when we talked about signing the season, and you're like, Low Def said, Karius in a year's time could be the end up being the signing of the season. And right now it's stabilized back there. Sure, at times we're like, oh, but for the most part, he's doing his job. And so defense, I think the midfield, defense, and goalkeeper are sound at the moment. It's just that final third is what's missing. But I remember when I previewed Muslic, looking him up and stuff like that, it's all about the press, right? We saw, obviously in the Hertha match, we saw a lot of pressing, and it kind of disappeared, right? And people were like, what happened to this press? What I've kind of noticed, I don't know if you've seen the same thing or seen something different, but it's a press still. It's not the press that we saw in the Hertha Berlin match, Hertha match, or what I was talking about, kind of press we're going to see. It's more like a trigger press and ball side press. And it's not until they get into the midfield where the several players collapse on the ball trying to cause a turnover. That's more the press I've seen. And I think that kind of pressing is more sustainable for a 90-minute game versus the all-out press that we've seen before. We've seen in the past where, I remember we played Bayern several years ago, 90 minutes trying to press, and that was
that's the exact game I was thinking of. Is like back in like the DeSanto era.
Yes,
where we would just be like, we're like 88 minutes into that game, it's 0-0 because we've just been running our asses off for that entire time. There's no offense involved in that. But there's a difference between sort of that full court press mentality and then stuff that's a little bit more selective in terms of triggers when certain players receive the ball on a certain foot in a certain, what I mean? Like there's all those kind of nuances that go into it. So maybe we should do like a tactical breakdown video separately on some of that to maybe iron out maybe some of the misconceptions between what people were expecting with him coming in versus what's actually materializing in terms of that aspect of the setup.
But nonetheless, this style of play has got us into second place, 3 points behind. Hanover's is killing it so far this season. A lot of goals. They scored 5 goals in their first game, so they've been winning pretty tight. 1-0, 2-0, 2-1 games for the season. But we got them in a few weeks' time. It'll be a true test for us to see how good we are. Can we stop them? And obviously, when we play the Magdeburgs and Greuther Fürth, those teams can score goals this year. Not necessarily defense. Do we adapt to their play and score a lot and open our defense, or shut the shop up? It'll be interesting to see. Dresden, for what it's worth, they're still they're in 13th place. Not a bad team, I don't think. Definitely at home, I think they're a more dangerous team than they are on the road. But I wasn't saying like we were running them over. I mean, there's nobody that we'll play this year that I'll feel like we're completely dominant of at the moment. But things could change. Obviously, the transfer market, we're hoping to make some changes there. Maybe add some depth in midfield, defense, and maybe goalkeeper, something like that. But I think attack is where I think we're all looking at. For me, haven't done much. It could be the formation, could be several things. I think Brian Lasma has shown that he is capable, and I think he'll get a run under Muslic. But for me, I think the focus should have been always the attack and get rid of some dead weight at least with Schalke. What was your thinking the focus should have been?
I think at some point we have to see like a Lasma Silla Karaman front three just to see how it looks. Yeah. I know that's probably not what we're going to see or what his approach is going to be generally, but once again, in terms of like the limited attacking talent that I think is making its way into the starting 11, that kind of top triangle, I feel like kind of has to be a way to maximize that. So I'm curious to see, given what you said about Lasman and how hot he's been so far this season, how we get him more minutes without sacrificing the two key difference makers from last campaign.
So who would be at the top for you in that scenario? Would it be Brian
I
Lasma?
think it's got to be Lasma because I feel like, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe because like Lasma's more of the winger, maybe, so maybe he goes out wide a lot. But I feel like Silla's been effective in those spaces before.
Yeah.
I could. Do you see it differently? Would you rather still keep Silla up top?
No, you know what? I think I think you're spot on. I think Lasma, while he is good on the wing, it's his pace that can exploit the defenses, especially if we're going to play counter-attacking style football. You need him up top so you can kind of break that defensive line. I think Silla is more than capable of crossing in balls. He's very good in those on the wing plays and kind of combining with either Karaman or whoever's around him and trying to get deeper to the play and get into the box that way. So I'm with you there. I think that would be good. You could argue maybe putting two guys up top, but that's not Music's system. It's a 3-4-2-1. It's not a 1-2. And so Karaman seems to have always done better with two 10s, right there, him and another guy. Silla could be that guy. They had obviously good chemistry there, so that could work. So I would be with you on that and lean towards Lasma being up top just to break open the defense. But there's another guy we're going to throw into the mix here in a minute, but let's look at some of the people that are outgoing from the team. Ilyas Hamach will be going out on loan to Amiens. He will join the team on a 1-year deal with an option to buy, so he is headed out on loan. Additionally, Martin Wazinski is going back to Liège on loan. It also includes an option to buy for the second-tier Belgian side. And then in not so good news coming up. Cisse, the guy who had a lot of potential, and just went out of favor with Schalke for whatever reason. Maybe this is part of the reason here, where it says transfer Cisse to Amiens, also the same club that Hamach is going to, has fallen through, unfortunately. And somehow it fits to the story. The whole story is that he failed his medical, and there's a lot of the gripe we've heard with Cisse from before. Obviously, we're not there on the ground, but is that he's not taking things seriously. He's out of shape, not physically fit or in game ready. We've heard Gerards and several managers say that he's not game ready or game fit, game shape. This kind of leads to that maybe he, we thought we were getting something, or he has some underlying injury or something that's going on that he failed his medical, and now he's coming back again. Can't get rid of him. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's super disappointing that we can't even move him to a club like this to help him get some minutes and get some match experience under his belt, which is really fundamentally what he needs more than anything. I think what you're saying is starting to look more likely as time goes on. Like you said, given the consistency across multiple regimes and in periods of time, I'd be interested to see if there's any more information that comes out about why this fell through specifically. Like I said, the medical. So if it is just like, hey, he's just out of shape, like it's not good. Because I mean, it shouldn't have come as a surprise to this guy that he'd be having a medical at some point this summer. I'm pretty sure he was aware that this was the plan in terms of moving and what he would have to do to be able to be in a position to make that happen. So if he isn't doing that, then yeah, it speaks to a professionalism issue and a dedication issue. And like, there's only so long you can coast, on like sort of like the promise of like being like a young talent. Pretty soon you're 22, 23, you know what I mean? And there's people that are coming in that are 19, 20 that are better than you. And like, you're no longer considered promising. You're just considered like a not particularly good,
pretty ado,
normal age player. So like, yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah,
random Freddie Adu drive by. I don't know if that was called. I mean, do you harbor resentment as a DC fan?
Yeah, a little bit. I'll say Hashim Matsur too, but that's another one from my past. It's unfortunate because we all like the kid, hoping for him the best, and it seems like the only way he can get minutes now is going to his national club of Mali, and get some time there. That's where he's going off here during the international break with Musa Silla. And so, yeah, it's a bit unfortunate. It's not the most surprising thing. I mean, I think Victor Boniface failing his medical during the transfer window, to AC Milan. That was kind of surprising there. But Yeah, Cisse, I think is someone who it just seems like it's one thing after another. The dominoes are starting to stack up, and it's all seeming like it's pointing at him versus like, oh, maybe it's the team didn't. Maybe Gerards or them saw something a while ago that they're like, look, this kid's not professional enough. He's got to learn professional side or something. You would think working under the Knabenschmidt team there in Norbert Elgert that they would get him and get him ready or something. But I don't know. You can only lead a horse to water. You can't make him drink water, right? I hate to use that stupid cliche, but it might be true in this scenario. Um, Kuroto says, "Have you talked about our new transfer yet?" No, I have not, and that's a good segue because we did get a new man. First, we got a silhouette from Schalke. We're like, who is this going to be? Well, that new man is Christian Gomez, our new number 7. He is coming into Schalke. We thought that Silla might be going out, and so Schalke's like, we're gonna have a fallback plan. We're gonna act on it just in case, and it's not contingent on selling of Silla. So they brought in Gomez, an attacker with a lot of potential coming in from Winterthur. Uh, had some like 5 goals last season, something like that. But he's got a lot of pace, Jack. He's loves taking on people one on one, and it's an interesting mix of Schalke's attack. But thoughts on this new man? Obviously, I'm not going to assume you know a lot about him because I didn't know a lot about him. But thoughts on Schalke signing an attacker number 7 here?
Well, I mean, we'll see how it plays out, and I could be totally wrong because I haven't watched a ton of him. But I mean, like, given the comments that are being made about him by the club and by some of the people involved in the signing, the intensity they talk about, the running that he exhibits. I mean, I wonder if this is the signing that Muslic was waiting for before he would go into more of that harder pressing style that you were just talking about. Like maybe it's a personnel issue. Maybe he needs somebody at the tip of the spear that really has a specific profile where he feels like he can be aggressive enough and be able to maintain that to make that kind of play style pay off and worthwhile. Because sometimes sometimes it can be like if you can't reach a certain level of it, it's almost better not to do it at all. Because you're not going to do it like well, you know what I mean? It's just going to be like taxing and like not effective. And so I wonder if this is like something to do with that, but we'll see. If anything, it gives us some additional help there. I mean, look, obviously Lasman's looked really good in cameo roles so far, and we have other people in and around the squad that we think potentially have potential, but they haven't shown it. And also with Silla not off to a hot start so far this season, I'll welcome whatever attacking help we can get. So yeah, all about it.
Well, you mentioned Silla and segue there. Rumors are he's going to go, but Sasha Tavolieri commented that Schalke have actually rejected the deal with Valencia. So Valencia was on the table for the last minute there, and I have it here somewhere with the details of it. I had it there. There it is. Where did it go? Okay, so the details of why Schalke rejected it. So apparently, Schalke wanted a paid loan with a $7 million optional buy, and Schalke wanted a mandatory buy. So they didn't want to do that deal. Valencia they wanted to make it optional, not a mandatory, and thus Schalke are trying to get him off the books if they're going to get rid of him, and they said no. So they weren't going to do that. So Schalke said no. Apparently, some other clubs like Swansea and Rennes, Leicester City as well, and one other French club were interested in him, but Anderlecht as well. But ultimately, Schalke said, you know what, we're going to hold on to him. We don't need to sell him. It's not like we brought in Gomez and on the contingency of selling selling Silla. So now Silla stays, and Baumann kind of said this in the summer where like I don't necessarily have to sell Bullet and Silla. One of them probably, but not both of them. And now we see that Silla stays. He teams up with Gomez, Karaman, maybe Lasma. This gives, to your point, options for Muslic. Obviously, last season, Silla scored a ton of goals, but he's off to a slow start, as you mentioned. How do you see this all shaping out now when you got, obviously, Gomez coming in? You have Lasma, you have Karaman's probably going to start no matter what, but Silla, you got Hoyland, you got Remmert. How do you see this working out? Because I something's jumping off the pages to me, but I want to get your take on this first.
I still don't have total clarity on how Muslic views. Once again, I don't know what we want to call that role exactly, but if you want to call it like the dual 10s or whatever, behind the striker, dual 8s. If you want to, I don't know how we want to refer to it, but like I don't have clarity in terms of what he views as the appropriate profile for that position yet. Is it Atwiaji? Is it Karaman? Is it
Yeah,
Bachman? You know what I mean? I mean, like these
You
are
could-
not like. Yes.
you put it into got kicked off the internet there. I'm live TV. Oh,
There we go.
oh my goodness. I don't know what happened there. I just lost all internet in my house and it came back on. So
It's all good. We were talking about Antoiaje and sort of
yes.
that dual 8 or dual 10 position kind of.
Yeah, so we don't know what Muslic wants, but I think you have an interesting dynamic where you have two slower players who are very creative, Antuiaje and Keenan Karaman, but you also have some pacier players like Lasma and Gomez now with Silla. You could, depending on the game or depending on how healthy people are, you could mix and match all those different variations there depending on what you need. I think it'd be interesting to see Gomez and Lasma together. Not necessarily both in the top of the front, but one could be played behind the other one. But you got two pacey guys there. Gomez is lightning quick from what I've seen. We know Lasma is as well. So, I mean, you have a bunch of things you could do here if you're Muslic, depending on the team you're playing against. I mean, it's interesting. And thank you, Cororo, for welcoming back.
If he does want to play a profile of player like, Gomez in that role, like, in one of those, the Karaman or, Bachman role from this previous game, if he wants to do that, then I do think it's probably more likely that we see Gomez in that role as opposed to at the top in the number 9 position. I think him getting out wide is in, some of the crossing ability and cutbacks and stuff and slashing is going to be probably where we see him more. But yeah, we'll see. I like that we're adding another, tool to the box. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we need all the help we can get at the moment. And the good thing also about Gomez is that he's not just one-footed. He's double-footed. He can play both wings. He can cross both ways. So it gives us options, I think, which will help, hopefully, because, as I said, midfield, I think we're sound. Defense, we're sound. And obviously, goalkeeper, we're sound at the moment. So I think if we can figure out the final third, keep playing the defense that we're playing, it only hopefully will do bode us well in the future. And hopefully we figure our stuff out but before the Hanover match, where that's going to be the next big game, I think, outside of Tulsa and Kiel one. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this all pans out, Jack. But I'm excited. I certainly am. I know one of the on Reddit they were talking about what are the possible formations that you could see here. And let me share a screen here. There we go. So someone had a formation not too similar to what we've been talking about. I think instead of having the two up top, it'd be one and back with Karaman. So it's not too different. I think everybody has the same thought process with maybe these three start. Maybe it's last one. We'll see. I imagine these three will get to start first out of any of the mix, just because we got the new toy. Probably want to see how he does first. But I mean, Remmert looked really good when he was there. For the brief moment. And oh my God, what am I doing? There we go. I'm all over the place now. And you and I are mixed up now. We switched places. It's just a fun night.
It's gonna keep people on their toes, Gotta change it up.
Yeah. Well, before this gets any crazier, let's talk about the final thing here. Unless you have anything else to talk about here with the transfer.
No, that's fine. Yeah, we can move on.
All right. Last little bit of news is the DFB Pokal. The draw finally came out, and we draw Darmstadt. These things are always a difficult thing because it seems like more times than not we're going to get a Bundesliga club or a super difficult team, whether it's a feisty Regional Liga club or just one of the big hitters. We avoided all that. We played a team in our division, a team who started out okay this season. So a team that we could play. We could actually say it's a winnable game. Not necessarily it's for sure locked up, but it's a team on our level. I'm happy about the draw, Jack, playing Darmstadt. We'll see when the game actually is going to be. It's going to be on the road, but thoughts on this draw here?
Well, the chat seems to disagree with you about Sportverein Darmstadt, but yeah, I mean, I agree. You never know. It's a crapshoot in terms of, like you said, these draws. We could have drawn Bayern round 2 for all we know. So, I mean, to get a club at our own level is, of course, appreciated. Not an afterthought match like Lokomotiv Leipzig was, although it didn't prove to be that, of course, but certainly not that kind of game. So, a game that's very much going to be needing to be won, and something we can't overlook at all. But yeah, it's certainly preferable to a top division team.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree about that.
Chat predicting Lindbergh scoring as well, which would not be a bad prediction given that because he's tied for the lead right now, right, in second division.
Probably, and last time we played them, he had 3 goals against us. So it's Lindbergh is our kryptonite, as is Darmstadt. But hey,
he has 4 or 5 right now, I think. So yeah.
Well, it's going to be it'll be an interesting game for sure. We'll see. Our teams could be completely different when the time this game comes. So I don't have the date here yet, but yeah, excited about it. We'll see how it happens. And I like that we missed a big team, but this team could very much cause us as much chaos as a big team. So we'll see. But that's it for the game. We got a couple week break here for the international break, and we'll come back for the Holstein Kiel here back on, I think it was the 14th or something to that effect, or 10th, or I don't know, somewhere around there. But we got a week off, everyone. So enjoy the international break. Cororo says Darmstadt is still beatable, though you never know. This is true. Jack, where can our followers find you on social media?
At JMMangan, JMMangan on Twitter/X.
You can follow me at R_KHARMAN. More importantly, follow us Schalke America all across social media. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you subscribe and like us on YouTube, Twitch, Kick, anywhere and everywhere. Follow us, and we're trying to put up some more content as shorts as well on TikTok and all that stuff, and reels and stuff. So appreciate the sharing and the following there. And good to take a break off. We just had a holiday break here in the United States. Took a little mini vacation, and we're going to take another one here from Schalke here. So I think it's much deserved. Though I think the timing of this is a little off, but it's okay. We all need a break, Jack. So all right, we'll catch you guys here after the Holstein Kiel game. For Jack, myself, everyone, enjoy the week off from Schalke, and Glück auf.